Okay. So today, our speaker for today is Foluke. She's a 2025 NHEF scholar, and I'll be reading her bio now. So, Foluke Babatunde-Lawal is a first-class law graduate from the University of Ibadan, 2025 NHF scholar, and alumna of the University of Geneva Summer School program. She also served as the executive director of FTF Nigeria, a sister organization to for the Future Foundation, registered in Ghana and the US, where she leads transformative youth-focused initiatives centered on education and leadership development. A former vice president of the Law Students Society, University of Ibadan, she brings together academic excellence, governance experience, and a passion for building equitable system. With a round of applause, let's welcome Ms. Foluke Babatunde-Lawal. Hi, Foluke, you have the floor.
Hi everyone, good evening. Please, I just want to confirm if you can hear me. Okay, so I'm going to
I
be
can hear
talking
you.
about. Okay, thank you. So I'm going to be talking about a question from the essays that you're going to be answering for the application. And the question is, if any, list school-related organizations, extracurricular activities, community service initiatives, and or volunteer activities in which you have been active during university, and state how these experiences will contribute to your personal and professional development. So I have broken down my speech into, or my explanation into a few sections. So what I just want to start with first is, what is the essence of the question itself? So, what is the question really trying to find out? It's not just a question that is asking you to list your activities or everything that you've done in the university, but you have to figure out what's the motive of the question, or why they're asking that question. So this kind of question is trying to test your initiative, your leadership, your consistency in your leadership, your impact, your self reflection, and your self awareness, and your future alignment. So they're asking, aside to what you did, they're asking who you became because you did what you did. So the first thing that you should do when you're answering this question is to, before you start answering the question, you should list the activities that you have carried out in school, all the activities you've carried out in school, school-related activities. So um, you, of course, you segment it, the organizations you joined, the extracurriculars. Oh, okay. Am I clear? I mean, can you hear me well? Or do I sound, is it breaking or anything?
Hi, Foluke.
Okay.
We can hear you, but I don't know whether it's for my end, but it has a little bit of like the sound is not that clear very well.
Okay, is it the same for others? Can you make out what I'm saying? Happiness, can you confirm if you can make out what I'm saying?
Yes, I can actually hear you. Yeah, I
Okay.
can hear you.
Okay, so you list the school organizations you've joined, all the extracurricular activities you've carried out, community service, your volunteer work, but then at the same time, you should ensure that you're not just dumping everything that you've done into the essay. So you have to be very selective with the things that you include in the essay. So after you've listed everything that you've done, I mean, just like list it as a draft. So after you've listed everything, you have to sift it out to find out the ones that are relevant to you. Now, one thing that's important is, and I believe that's some of all, some NHS scholars are probably or will probably say the same thing, is that everything you're doing has to relate to your career, or at least whether directly or indirectly. It shouldn't be something too irrelevant. So if you're listing school-related activities, always figure out a way to link it back to the major theme of your essay. So there are some activities that you may have carried out in school that were not so relevant, or they are not so relevant. You could have done several things. I mean, you could have was it cut all the things you've I mean cut down the things you've done down to the only the relevant things that you've done. So it shows that you have an alignment, like you know what you're doing. It's not just they're just going everywhere. You don't really have a certain path in mind. And one thing that they really look at is your um was it your career trajectory. So if you're talking like, you're just here and there, you don't really know, you don't really have a thing that you particular end goal to your essay, then it just shows that um you don't really have any plan, you don't really have any focus. So when you are listing your activities, list things that you know are relevant to what you're doing. Um, NHEF, they look for people that are all rounders. So it means that you should, alongside the academics, you should also be solid in other areas. That's the extracurriculars, the leadership, um, what other thing? Just, other places in general. So all these things are very important when you are writing your essay. Now, when you listed everything, you have to state how these experiences will contribute to your personal and professional development. And this is it's the most important part. And that's why they asked me a question that states how these experiences will contribute to your personal and professional development. Because that's what you're supposed to, that's the end goal. Why are you doing these things? You're not just doing them because you want to or because everybody's doing it, but like you have a reason. There's a reason that you're doing them. So now, you maybe you were the vice president of the society. What skills did you gain from it? How did you grow from it? How did it shape your future career? Or how does it shape your future career or values? What effect did they make? And this is why it is important to limit it to your what your goals are, or related to what your goals are. So there's relevance in your essay. So you talk about, let me see if I can open my just okay. So now another thing that when I was writing my essay, I actually wrote it as an essay, but then a previous NHEF scholar from 2024 mentioned that since they said list, I'm meant to list first and then explain. But I was stubborn. I chose to be stubborn. I did not list because I felt like listing. I didn't know. I wasn't just comfortable with listing it. I felt like it would be better for me to say, okay, I would, write one and then explain it. So one thing that I mentioned here was, um, okay, as a Law Student Society erstwhile vice president, I learned what it truly means to be a leader. Just like very short sentences, because there's a word counts, and in everything you do, you have to follow the word counts. So, I wrote as a member of the Law Student Representatives Council for 2 consecutive assemblies, including serving as the clerk of the House. I have improved my leadership, organizational, and communication abilities. Sorry, okay. I thought there was a message there. Then I also said beyond academics, my involvement with For the Future Nigeria as the executive director has instilled in me a commitment to community service and social impact. Very simple, one sentence for each. I listed just one, two, three, four, five. I listed just five related activities. So you don't have to list everything, like I mentioned before. And then the final thing I did was I mentioned becoming an NGS scholar will maximize my potential for driving positive change through other future initiatives. So, and this is also going to be important to your interview. In every question you're answering, always link it back to how it developed you and how NHEF will further develop you. So even when I'm in the interview, we're probably going to still have more sessions on that later, but when they ask you questions during the interview, it's similar to answering the essay, you ensure that every question you answer links back to what NHF is going to do for you. Don't talk beyond that. Don't start saying, I mean, once you're done answering the question, you say, okay, NHF and NHF is the perfect platform for me to further blah 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 blah. Just link it back to how NHF is going to help you. Um, and something I wanted to mention just now. Um, I can't remember, but basically, just always ensure to link it back to NHF and what they're going to do for you. Um, any other thing. So basically, for this question, you answer the activity, what was the role, the impact that it had on you, or the growth that you experienced because of it, and that's it. Then tied to NHS bigger vision. The NHS Scholar Program looks for future leaders, socially conscious individuals, people who will create impact. So ensure that your answer reflects that. And I think that's all I have to say about this question. I don't know if I underutilize the time or there is I think it's 1 hour I'm supposed to use for. Yeah, that's about it. Did anybody did everybody get what I was saying, and do we have any questions?
I please you can raise up your hands if like just signify, then turn on your mic. Hi Enioto, you can unmute yourself.
All right. Good evening, FBL. Good evening, Bukola. Good evening, Happiness people. Thank you so much for another one of your sessions. So my question is basically, what if your contributions are not like the extracurricular activities are not particularly, they are more of social um rather than of the intention to make a lasting impact. Let's say, for instance, maybe you led a particular team for maybe it's a social event in your school, maybe any of those kind of any of those kind of initiative. But they're not particularly professional, neither are they like career oriented or anything like that. Do you think
Okay.
that it is advisable for us to have our experience leading teams or contributing to those initiatives? Do you think it's advisable for us to attend to this kind of essay or any essay that we are asked to write in general?
Okay, what I mean by it should be related to your career, I don't mean that it should strictly relate to the career itself. I just mean like, for example, when they say extracurricular, they're trying to gauge your leadership abilities and other things in that regard. So of course you would need leadership abilities if you want to follow the career path you're following. So it's not like it has to be like if your career path is law, because I'm a law graduate. If your career path is law now, it doesn't mean that it has to be something related to law. It could be something else. I mean, it could be it's just that because you only have 200, I mean, the word limit is very small. You have to ensure to make, I mean, the ones that are only relevant, because I know that several people do a lot of things, but you know that, okay, if you want to pick five that are most relevant, you know the ones to select. So if you've only done five things, and I mean, those are the only things you can put all five. But if you've done several things, they're trying to figure out which ones to put, because you have to put the ones that are most relevant to your career. So that's what I mean. And I mean, as a whole, all the essays that you have to write, you should still ensure to link it to how, because NHF is mostly a career development program, career accelerating program. So in as much as you have, I remember, I think, was it during my interview or it was someone else that told me of their interview experience, but there was a time that Claire herself mentioned it that she's not expecting you to talk only about it because she's going to interview you. I think you're aware of that. And she said that she's not expecting you to talk only about the things you've done, even if you've been president of the society or you've led whatever. the major thing that they're looking for, these things are just there to, show that you're an all-rounder. It's not just book, 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 but what they're actually focusing on is whether you actually have career goals in mind. So if you are just putting, random things, and then that's the same way your other essays are, you're just like saying this or that, but you don't have a certain, someone is reading your essay and they don't know that, okay, this is what this person is going after, then at the end of the day, it won't really match up. But if you have those five things, you put them there, and they have a form of maybe they have a form of relevance to what you're doing. Or if not, you know that, okay, those are the five things you've done, those are the five extracurriculars that say your leadership abilities and potentials, then you can put it there. So it's not that it has to be it doesn't have to be only things that are directly relevant to your path, but one way or the other, they should still influence you personally, like your own growth personally and indirectly, or in turn influence your career path. So that's what I mean. I don't know if you understand my
I
explanation.
do.
Please, does any other person want to ask a question? You can also raise up your hand. Okay, so we don't have questions for now. But do you have other questions that you would like to ask that are related to this particular question? So you can raise up your hand that way. Ah, hi everyone. No one is raising up their hand. I can't see any hand raised up. Okay, hi banker. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Actually, my question, I don't know if it's related to to the answer to the questions that was asked earlier. Actually, it's regarding someone that does not have. Okay, for instance, question is quite funny. For instance, someone that does not have a career goal, what do you think the person can start doing?
Okay, you have to have a career goal. If you're applying to NHEF, you have to have a career goal, and this is why most people would say when after they can you would you mind muting your mic? Because I think there's some background noise. Thank you. So this is why most people that apply to NHEF or apply to any other, well, let me say NHEF, most people would say that it is that the application process gives them that um force them to rethink their life decisions and their career path, because they will ask you questions related to your career. There, there's a question that always comes in every NHF interview. And if you ask every NHS card, they say the same thing. They'll ask you what are your career goals and what are you doing towards them. You cannot be applying to NHF without a career goal, because that's why you're applying to NHF, because you have a career goal. So if you don't have a career goal, you have to find a career goal. Everybody should have a career goal anyway, because and it doesn't have to be a professional career per se. Like, it doesn't have to be. It could be something related to business or entrepreneurship. They're going to take you entrepreneurship classes at NHS, so or an entrepreneurship class at NHS. So it's not like you have to restrict, and you also don't have to restrict it to what you're studying. It could be something else, as long as you have the experience to back it up and the goal to back it up, and they know that you know what you're saying and you know what you're doing, then you don't have a problem. But if you want to apply to NHS, you have to. Like, it's not NHS is not something you just wing. You cannot apply to NHS like if anybody that got into NHEF was very intentional about the application, and you can quote me anywhere, you cannot win NHEF. You have to have it in mind from the start that I'm going to get into NHEF because I want to do, I want to do this thing with my career, or I want to get here with my career. NHEF is not a leadership. It's not, they don't, I mean, of course, you have classes on leadership, but they are not focused on your leadership alone. They're focused on your career. So you have to, I mean, if you don't have a career goal, then why are they selecting you? Why do you want to be on the program? And they will ask you, what are your career goals? So you have to tell them that, okay, this is what I'm aiming for. These are the things I want to do in my career. These are the things I've done towards that goal, because you can't have a goal without doing things towards that goal. So these are things I've done towards this goal, and these are the things I'm aiming for, or these are the things I'm going to do. This is where I see myself in so years, blah blah blah. So they're going to ask you that questions. We are not going to just keep it. So if you really want to get into any chair, and I mean you want to become a scholar, you have to sit down and actually think about what you want out of your career. You probably have something that you are pursuing. Maybe I mean, you should have something that you're pursuing. If it's what you're studying or it's something outside what you're studying. For example, some law students, they selected consulting. I mean, and I know that for the year before that, some law students selected finance. I think there's there's finance there. I think there's finance, yeah. So it doesn't have to be what you're studying, but you have to have a career goal in mind when you're applying, because that's what they need to focus on. And once they sense that you're very unsure about your career goal, then your chances dwindle.
Hi, banker. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So please, do we have more questions? Like, you need, if you have any question relating to this that you think needs to be handled, please just raise up your hand and you can unmute yourself. Okay, so we don't have any question now. So I would like to ask that, how far have we gone in answering these essay questions? So let's just hear feedback from you since we don't have any questions now. You can raise up your hand to just tell us. We've been doing the this webinar since Sunday, so I know by now you would have been able to like answer some question based on what you have discussed so far and your research. So I would like to know how far you've gone. You can raise up your hand and unmute yourself. Oh, so no one wants to like give a response. Hi Frederick, hi Tamilore, hi Banker, hi Enioto, hi Anne. We have a lot of people on the call and we are not responding. You don't have to like share your answer. Just tell us, oh, out of 8 questions, I've been able to answer like three, four, five, and how the experience has been so far.
I didn't want to say anything because I've not properly started writing my essays, and that's mostly because I'm still in my research phase. I don't want to start something that I won't finish, and I am also trying to avoid starting something that I wouldn't be a fan of, and then I have to start all over again. So, I think I'm still gathering my materials before I start like answering proper. That's why I didn't want to say anything because there's really nothing to share for me.
Okay, thank you, Enyoto. I saw Tamilore, or is it Banker's hands?
Yeah, it's my hand. Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
So far I've been able to write just two, and even one thing I've noticed is, I think some of my answers were not, they didn't have like a sort of core story, and that's been something that every speaker has emphasized on. So I've had to go back and edit something as I progress, but I think it has been very, I don't know the right word to use, but I've had to sit down with myself and actually sit to evaluate what exactly do I want, so I can pass that message across, and so I won't look like I don't know what I'm doing in my essays.
Oh, okay, well done, Tamilore. Is like, how will I say it? Let me say, you can't just have a final answer right when you're writing the first draft. It's just like you're trying to gather your thoughts, and based when you hear, like, based on the webinar, your research, you can now go back. Oh, I need to improve here, that way. So let's just say you are trying to, like, work on it and have the best response. Well done, Tamilore. So do you have more people that would like to, like, share their experience so far? Hi, Happiness.
Yeah, I think we have a question in the chat box. So for looking, I'm just going to, or maybe Bukola, you can actually read the question out.
Okay, let
There's a
me
question.
let me get the question. Okay, so the question says, "Good evening, Miss Foluke. What if my voluntary experiences is outside university, like it's not university related at all? What do I do in this kind of situation? Can I still write on it?"
Well, one thing I would advise is that for every question you're answering, the and also for every interview question you're answering, you should ensure to read or listen to the question very thoroughly. So you're able to answer all the questions. I mean, you're able to answer everything that's asked in the question. For example, when they ask you what are your career goals and what are you doing towards them, you don't just say what your career goals are, you also say what you're doing towards them. So for this question, it stated that if any list school-related activities, school-related organizations, extracurricular activities, blah blah blah. So the fact that they stated school-related means that it has to be school-related. So if you're going to list, unless maybe that's the only thing that you've done, that maybe you don't have any school-related activity that you've carried out, then perhaps you can. But I think, oh, but wait, it says created organizations actually, not everything. So if it's like maybe an activity that's, I mean, for me now, I mentioned that I volunteer with several NGOs, or have volunteered with several NGOs, and not all of them, in fact, none of them, okay, maybe just one is related, but two are not related. So if that's what you mean, as in like maybe a volunteer activity with an initiative or an NGO, then you can put it there. But if it has to deal with maybe, I mean, that should also be included in your answer just to be safe. But if you've done other community initiatives and all, don't think, um, I don't think it has to be school related.
Okay, thank you for looking. I saw Frederick and raised up before. Hi, Frederick.
Oh yeah, my hand was raised up. So I good evening everyone. So I've been able to pretty much write come up with a draft for my essays, for all the essays, but a part of me is still looking for a perfect answer. I mean, whenever I try to, like, because I used to, like, try to watch the videos again on YouTube. I mean, thanks to marketing for that. So whenever I watch and try to listen to each of the NHEF scholars, as the past scholars, and I'm like, am I really giving what NHEF would want? Because there's this kind of looking for the perfect answer. But I kind of realized that There's really no perfect answer per se. It's just being able to like tell yourself to the standard that NHEF requires, and I've been really working on that. And thanks to this platform as well, I've been able to like specific in my essays because majority of the speakers have been they've been mentioning to be specific, the specific, the specific. And yeah, I think it has kind of transformed my drafts a lot. So that's my current stage. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Frederick. So to just add up on what you just said, since I feel you should like share your answers, those your drafts with a share it with a scholar or anyone that you know can read it and like know have a good standard in answering questions like that. So a scholar, any scholar or someone that you feel is good enough to evaluate your essays, because you might think you have a perfect response and someone can just point out a mistake that see this part, you should like work on this, the way you answered it, the way you wrote it, your tone here, that way. So I feel you should share it and it's going to you hear their response that way. Okay, so do you have more questions or you want to tell us your experience so far? We still have enough time if you would like to share your experience with us. Okay, so I believe, okay, I can see a question from Anne. Anne wrote, she says, can I share my draft with all the organizers after this call? I would like the permission to go ahead. Oh, so you said all the organizers. I think you can share to one or two person, just share to two people that way. Maybe happiness, we have happiness here. I happiness. So she can
Okay.
read it. I happiness.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, Bukola. If you go to the group, the general group chat, you have a list of scholars. They're all admins. Yeah, over 20 of us. So you can just pick. You can pick anybody as random to share your drafts with them. And if you want to share it with me, that's all right. That's all right. Thank you.
Okay. So I hope that answers your question. And before we end this session, I would like to ask, hi Glory, do you want to say something? Okay. So she's not saying anything. Okay, so since we don't have any questions or anyone who wants to share their experience, I believe we are all doing fine in writing our essays, and I wish everyone the best. You can, as Happiness said, we have like 20 scholars on the group chat. You can share your essays. You don't have to share it to everyone. You can just pick one or two people, share it, and get their feedback. So thank you so much for joining the call, and I wish everyone the very best in writing their essays. Good night, everyone.